Day to day, I shoot a lot of different guns with a lot of different stocks.
I'm John from Gun Shop and I'm here today to talk about gun fit.
Over the years, that has led my gun mount to change, and potentially my gun fit too. I have fitted a lot of guns, but it's always good to get a second opinion. So I met up with Matt, who is going to check my current gun fits, my gun mount, and more importantly, get my custom measurements to see what is actually correct for me.
We've brought the weather with us, haven't we?
I mean, it's England in September. This whole hot stuff can go. This is what it's all about now.
Absolutely. We're getting into the swing of the game season now. Hopefully the cool weather continues so we can enjoy a bit more shooting.
Yeah, I don't mind sweating in tweed, but it's much, and I don't like being cold either, but you know, this is perfect. We're going to have a lot of fun today.
Absolutely, Johnny. What's the plan of attack?
I'm thinking go for a shot, talk some stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about gun fit, learn about gun fit.
Absolutely, sure.
Have a gun fit.
That sounds great.
Then you can measure your gun fit versus some of my gun fitted guns.
Ooh.
And we'll just have a look, right? Because we've discussed in the past that gun fit's not black and white.
No, it's very grey. It's very grey. It's very subjective. It's an opinion. There are certain parameters you work around, but at the end of the day, as long as the eye position's coming up correctly and it looks like a gun, let's see what happens. That's
very much along the lines of my own thinking, mate. There's a lot of people who go, the gun needs to be X, Y, and Z, and I think that's a complete lie. Because as you'll see, I have 3 guns that are completely different. I can shoot them all to a good standard. My entire career is based around shooting different guns every day. And I do think that gun fit, having been beaten by Ed Solomons from the hip, doesn't count for as much as good moves.
You could be onto something there. I mean, obviously you want to make sure that the gun is comfortable, make sure your eye is down the gun correctly, but there are certain points of it that you can work around, i.e. if you bought a gun off the shelf and you haven't had a gun fitting and you've not shot much before, you can work around that gun to a fair amount. When you're looking at gun fit, there's probably 2 different styles you're looking for there really. Either trying to micro measure and make sure it's absolutely spot on, or actually getting the gun somewhere near to begin with.
Mate, the human body isn't micro measurable. If you have like a big gluttony dinner and 5 pints of water, you like 3 millimeters bigger in the face the next day anyway. So I don't believe that it can be millimeter perfect. It can be very, very close, but the human body varies too much, surely.
It does, and the other thing that varies a lot is human error. I mean, if I could mount a gun consistently the same place on my shoulder every time, I think I'd be a much better shot than I am. I can't. It's you can get it wrong very easily and very quickly. Within a 1/16 of an inch, within 2 or 3 mil, yeah, you should be able to get it fairly consistently. But any less than that, you're probably looking at a game that's not going to be there next time because you're going to mismount the gun.
Yeah, we're not looking for millimetre perfect, we're looking for millimetre close.
Yes, exactly. Somewhere near, in the grey.
Right, it seems it started raining, let's go shooting.
Sounds good.
What we could do actually is, on our way to the next stand, I'll put this away, I'll grab a different gun.
Sure.
And I think that gun fit has as much to do with the weight and balance of a gun.
Absolutely.
As anything else.
Yeah.
And in fact, the weight and balance of a gun can change what fit you need, from my perspective. Would you agree?
I would totally agree with that. If the gun is balancing differently, it's coming into your shoulder differently, and how you hold the gun is different. So how you use your shoulders to get it up to your cheek, it's going to be different every time. So you've got to work with the client and see what they want to do, how they like their gun to balance. You can guide them to a certain amount to make sure that they've got a nice slow tip on the stock to bring into the cheek and shoulder nicely. But if they want to have a very heavy barrel and throw it in there like they're digging a grave, then you've got to work with that.
Yeah, and you know, this gun moves slowly. Ergo, missing that B target behind because I'm trying to shoot it like some of my other guns, whereas because I should just be parking out in front and just working less.
That's it.
But I feel, from a shooting perspective, we're not really here to talk about, that would require a different fit. I prefer more height in the comb to a gun that moved faster, where I prefer it lower.
Correct, yeah. So a faster moving gun, you want to be able to reference the gun a little bit more. So having your eye position a little bit behind the stock is going to make it easier to cut the line through the bird if you're using it quickly.
Yep.
Something slow, a plodder, you want nice clear vision, you want your eye away from the gun. If you're using something that's very slow and very heavy, it's very easy for you to look back to the gun and start to overthink the shot, definitely. So yeah, getting your eye away from it is very important. And different ribs as well.
That is a big thing of mine, right? I like seeing rib when I've got a tram line.
Yeah, absolutely.
When there's no tram line, I prefer not seeing it. I find it a lot easier to have the barrel aware with a tram line.
Same as beads. I like to have 2 beads or no beads. If I've got 1, I start to worry too much. If I have 2, I know they're there. If I have none, I don't look at them. It's
but again, 2 beads requires a very specific fit, right? Because it's such an obvious reference to your eye.
That's right. So with 2 beads on the gun, you want to be looking for a certain picture that's there so you can reference it before you look out towards the target. With no beads or 1 bead, you're not really looking for that picture. So again, it's a completely different setup. And I think that's what, going back onto what we were saying, gun fit can be grey. It's not black and white by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it's so I did the thing with Mama Ricardo over the internet, and we'll get that out, not next. We'll get it out next. That was a real interesting experience that man got it as close as he did. But one thing that was lacking at the beginning, and I know that he does it slightly differently now, was a case of what do you shoot, what do you like on it, what are the things that make you about your shooting. Back then, there was a bit of that. What do you use it for? Hunting? What styles do you use? But it's such an interesting thing.
Absolutely. The first question I ask clients is, what do you like to see when you're looking down the gun? And a lot of people, they'll be taken back by that and say,
I don't know.
I don't know. And then you have to figure it out with them, which is fine. And that's why it takes a little bit of time. You've got to fettle it. How you set up a tri-gun in the building is different to how you actually probably bring it back in after you've shot it a few times. It takes some figuring out.
And there's an important learning curve, I guess, because you can fit guns without seeing someone shoot it, and it's totally acceptable. You can get it so close. But there's a lot of people that lie when they dry them out.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of people that lie when they dry them out, and there's a lot of people who can't replicate what they replicate indoors, outdoors in terms of smoothness, potentially.
Correct. Absolutely. I see it every time. You'll mount the gun 10, 15 times inside a building, set up the tri-gun, you'll see a couple of different mounts each time, and then you go outside and they start attacking targets and they mount the gun completely differently again. And yeah, it's just one of those things. You've got to work with it and hopefully get the best for the client.
All right, I'm going to shoot 2 more of those bees and it's your turn.
Beautiful.
Again, moving guns, this gun is way faster, it's a bit flatter, and as such I feel I can punch into stuff a lot faster. And I think because it's flatter I do move it faster, is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Just watching you shoot there, it looked like the gun picks up a whole lot of speed there compared to the old Maruku. And yeah, it's easy to, like you said, punch into the front edge of the bird and not worry about the lead and go for it. It'd be interesting to see where your eye sits on that gun in comparison, see what's correlating to what you're seeing and what you're shooting. That's going to be fun to measure, definitely.
When it comes to grips as well, this grip is a lot longer.
Yeah, it's very...
That's going to affect the way the gun moves. That's a big part of gun fit, right?
Absolutely. The way the pistol grip is on the gun, it looks like the radius is much less than what you would call a standard sort of pistol grip on a shotgun there. What it's going to affect is how you grip the gun, how your wrists move and how your elbows and shoulders position onto that gun, so how you can actually move your body through the shot. Normally if your pistol grip is down and your hands are down with the gun, you're crunched into it a little bit more and you can feel yourself pushing and pulling with the gun. When it's swept back and it's all a little bit more tense, you sort of move a little bit more robotically, I find.
So I find, from a personal perspective, I always love the feel of a big grip.
Me too.
I can't move them the same as I can move a smaller grip. You get like a K80 or this or something that is designed for you to control it. I find the ability to just punch out of it so much easier. And maybe that's mental.
Possibly mental, but to be fair, a thinner grip on a gun, it is easier to move.
I suppose you can drive with that forearm and arm a bit more as opposed to being locked.
Locked into it, absolutely. Who is it from Napsy who always used to say, you can't beat a straight grip gun? Chris Miles, that's the man. Yeah, straight grip.
They are fantastic in themselves, the reason they were the dominant force for so many years.
Absolutely. I want to have a go with that.
Oh, please do. So that bottom barrel has a full choke in it, and as that rabbit, as we can see,
yeah,
we're not connected.
he was a bit vaporised, wasn't he?
Yeah. Right, I'll shoot one more pair and then it's your turn.
Yeah, Sam.
Oh. Overleading it.
Overleading it massively. But do you reckon it's where the weight of the gun is and the balance point is a little bit faster?
Yeah, I think there is a big thing, certainly from a personal perspective. It's a good excuse just to changing guns all the time.
Yeah.
Well, everyone says when you get a new gun, it takes 1,000 shells to get used to the speed.
Yeah.
Not 10.
No, that's right.
And often it's interesting, and part of the reason we're here having this conversation today is often my guns don't feel like my guns.
Wow, okay.
Because I'm forever shooting
different guns?
Yeah, 14.5-inch left hand, straight, whatever guns, because that's part of what I enjoy.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
And you sort of morph yourself around different guns and it affects how you shoot yours.
Yeah, familiarity is as good as fit, right, in 9 out of 10 things.
Oh, absolutely. You'll have a game shooter who's shot for the last 40 years with a gun where you can't actually see his eye above the rib. If you told him his fit was wrong and try to change his eye position, it would definitely be detrimental to his shooting, because he'll be fighting to get back to that point where he wants to be and feels comfortable.
You look at all these world champs who have a brand new action with their same battered old stock, and they can recreate it, but in their head, or they'll refit it, but they don't want it.
No, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same, even if it's Reiter.
Yes.
Reiter isn't better.
No, that's right. That's right.
And that's always it. That's another very interesting point, that necessarily that perfect measurements are not perfect because we're not. Correct. Because of what we've done in the past.
You hit the nail on the head there. Getting a perfect dimension and a perfect eye position on the gun, it's not going to suit everybody. You know, it's...
if you've never had it.
Exactly. If you've never had it and you see a certain sight picture and you've shot like that for years, it's going to be horrible. And I've seen it happen. I've tried to do it in the past and I've learned from my mistakes. Sometimes you've got to look at the customer and think, okay, what do you want to get out of this? Okay, let's go 5% better or a couple of percent better. Let's not try and show you the full sunshine.
In an ideal world, right, I've always believed that people should have a gun that fits them as soon as humanly possible, or as near as damn it as humanly possible, because it prevents that from happening. I don't see too many people doing it because of the cost element. What do you think?
I think you should work with a gun first and get it somewhere near and practice mounting it before you get those dimensions set in stone. Because if you're a new shooter and you haven't shot much before, you'll find certain things work for you and certain things don't, depending if you're methodical, instinctive, what you like to see between the gun and the clay, and what it tells you when you're trying to shoot.
But having it somewhere handy, surely, from the start is
absolutely.
Not, we're not looking for perfection, right? That's never going to happen, because you're going to develop quite a long.
Correct. Your gun mount's going to change. Your attitude towards the targets are going to change, and the whole aspect will change. So yeah, you want to get your eyes somewhere near that rib straight away. And there's a lot of guns out there. There's a lot of dimensions. You've got to find one that works for you, really.
You've seen me out shoot with a lot of different guns, right?
Absolutely.
That probably hasn't helped you in the slightest.
Not really, no. I've seen some interesting moves from some different guns there, and the main thing I can see there is that it's a lot of gun speed with most of the guns you're shooting, apart from the first one you shot, actually, which was fairly steady and fairly smooth. It'd be interesting to see the barrel weights and how you actually line yourself up onto that gun.
But it's also the one that perhaps fit the least. That to me is an odd thing, right?
What you may think works for you might not actually work for you.
So, and part of the reason I kind of want to do this today, not only is to share information, but I've been going for a real black hole in my gun fit, man. All of my guns don't feel like mine at the moment, and I feel more confident with guns that don't fit. Currently, I feel way more at one with a couple of my guns that I'd almost rather choose over my guns that are fitted.
Yes.
And that should be the case. But I also know that, from my experience, that can be the case. So it would be just nice for you to potentially get your tri-gun out and measure me up, and well, let's find what's comfortable, right?
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to do now. So I'll get the tri-gun set up to what I think you should be. Just having a look. You go steady. Just looking at the length of pull, cast and height, and see what works for you. And then we'll keep tweaking it until it feels comfortable.
Cool. I have a theory. I'm looking forward to seeing what yours is first.
Absolutely. Don't tell me anything. Let's go into this.
All I'm saying is clearly none of those are working for me.
So we're going to start with the length of pull first, see where your eye comes up on that, and then start setting comb heights and then start setting cast. As I keep fiddling with it though, it's going to change each one, so we'll have to keep tweaking it until it's somewhere near, basically.
This is it. I always say every reaction has an opposite and equal reaction, right? You change that length by a bit.
Correct.
Everything changes. Cast and height are a very difficult thing to get right, because if you change your cast with your height, then that needs to change accordingly.
Absolutely. So when you do go into a gun shop and they say, oh, just go a little bit shorter, that'll be fine, they need to take into account that it's going to change your eye position on the comb, your profile's going to change, and it might shoot completely differently again.
Yeah, it likely will. Again, just based on what we've discussed, trying those 3 different guns earlier, is if you change your gun, the way you shoot changes, and your fit probably changes a bit too.
I'd always recommend getting your fit checked when you get a new gun, just to make sure it's somewhere near, even if you have a set of dimensions that you know work.
It's an ongoing process, right, as well, more importantly.
Correct.
Because you're never going to nail it first time. You can't.
No.
There's a reason that they do pattern stocks, is so you can go and shoot it, usually for like 6 months to a year, before you have a full custom stock made, so you can tweak and change and play. But not many in America. It's a huge thing. Over here,
not so much.
Not so much.
When I get custom stocks for clients, we go and have a second fitting, make sure the grip dimensions are right, check the profile of the stock, alter if we need to, oversize it slightly so as we can come down into it, shoot the gun, make sure you're happy, shoot it again. I'd rather it was slightly wrong now and we correct it before finishing than saying those are your dimensions, get on with it.
Most people are looking for a quick, cheap, magic pill with gun fit, but it's important to remember that it's only a part of the puzzle. So get a gun fit done, but don't expect instant world championships. Matt proceeded to assemble his trigun and set it up for what he thought I would need, and it was time to test his theory.
The weather has dictated we have come to the easiest stand at Barbary.
Absolutely, and with the greatest respect, to be honest, we were going to come here anyway because we want to take skill out of the equation for a minute or two.
That won't be hard. Very small net.
So the Trigun, it's a wonderful bit of kit. It's not the be-all and end-all of answers, okay? It's very stock heavy, very barrel light. So just
So we put a barrel weight on there.
absolutely,
Yeah, look
a
at
couple
that.
more on there as well. So just take it steady with the gun, see how you feel. I'll ask you some questions in a minute. Have a couple of shots.
Pudding. I mean, I'm glad I hit all of them.
Yeah, me
Apart
too.
from the one that I missed.
Even with the ShotKam on there, it's very barrel light.
Yeah.
But it does showcase possible issues that you may or may not have with the fit itself. So it's a good thing to have.
And given that you gun fit for people who aren't 6'7", lovers of 9-pound guns,
Yes.
it's probably wise not to just have a monster 32-inch set of ascent barrels on there all the time.
Absolutely.
Hey, duck stand, a right to left crosser. Let's see, shall we? Pull.
Nice. From what I can see when you're shooting there, it does look like there's just a little bit of movement
I
from your
have to
cheek.
open my mouth ever so slightly to create that.
Yeah, I think you're just pulling away from it to have a cheeky little look, okay? So let me just raise that up a touch.
Okay.
Okay. On that second bird there, how much did you have to drop underneath it to make a contact?
Too much.
Too much.
Yeah, more than the Maruk, and that's saying something, right?
Okay, let's have a look at your eye position. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Does that feel nice in the shoulder?
Nice enough, I guess. Because the temptation is now to get your head flat on the gun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now that is uncomfortable.
Yeah. So we've got to figure out what you like. Let's shoot a different target, see a different picture again, and then I'll make up my mind. Nice.
And now, light barrels, I had to give that a good shunt.
Yeah. You had to pick up a bit of zip with that one.
It's better.
Nice.
It's a bit conscious. I know that it should be, right? I'm not unaware of that. That's exactly. You can't just get in and hope you hit that target.
But it feels like you've got to work at it a little bit. It doesn't feel as effortless as
Yeah,
it
just
can
feel
be.
a bit tight moving through it, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think? I'm not unhappy with the result.
No, the results are great, but it's just that movement you've got in your cheek at the moment. And if you've got the movement to play with it and check it, and I think that's what's happening there, you're bringing your eye down to the gun, forcing the pressure, lifting the pressure, and I think that's probably causing you a little bit of conflict as you're looking through the gun.
I think you told me not to get too involved, but I do think if we can pick that gun up into the cheek a little more
Yep.
and sort that pad a touch lower, maybe, like
Yeah.
just create a touch, not Monte Carlo, but a touch of Monte Carlo.
Yeah, so we'll drop it here, raise it here to get the face measurement the same.
Yeah.
And that should just lock you into it.
Because the
a little
sight
bit.
picture's pucker. Like,
Yeah.
it's absolutely on the money. But it's a real interesting thing, right? That you can get that so close. Shoot one more. Go on.
Just the beep?
You know, I've obviously dissected it all inside of a box of shells.
Beautiful.
Fucking stowed that.
That was awesome. Yeah, I know what we need to work with now. We need to get that face measurement in a slightly different configuration to make it feel more comfortable. Trust me.
I trust you implicitly, mate. I mean, that dying better than it did before.
It was with the GTI, definitely.
Yeah. That's
Damn.
definitely requires just a little bit of
Punching into it.
yeah, which I know that I can do.
Yep.
But this is about, I guess, perfection.
Absolutely.
Or millimeter perfect gun fit. It does exist.
No, it doesn't.
So, the plan is to.
Essentially, where you've got your eye positioned on the gun at the moment, your eye is correlating to the rib really nicely. That's why we'll be able to break such long targets
Yeah.
with it, to be honest. But it just doesn't feel right in the shoulder.
Yeah, it's a little bit of coiled spring in the body, which obviously on those slightly slower targets where you're kind of clearly unfolding that spring.
Absolutely, and that's where there was a lot of movement coming from your cheek, and it just wasn't quite working. So that's what I would consider a flat comb setup at the moment. We talked about it earlier, possible Monte Carlo. That's what I'm going to set you up with now and see if that feels any better.
Let's go. Go.
And again, two more. Nice. Could go a touch higher if you wanted to.
You think?
No, leave it alone for a minute, have two more.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell on these softer clays.
Yeah. Just relax, turn them to smoke.
Oh.
Nice, really nice. Monte Carlo is the way forward, I think.
Like that. Felt good.
Yeah, did it feel more locked in?
felt locked it, but more importantly, it just, the dangerousness feeling level increased. I wouldn't feel brave enough to shoot that B-bird the way I shot it just then before. And now I reckon I could shoot it
Off the trap bar. You're moving that quite tidy. Let's go try that teal and that big long crosser again.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Happy days. What I can't wait to measure, though, is all the other guns and see where they're at.
Left, right, right to left. Clear blue sky, 50
Beautiful.
million mile an hour winds.
Perfect.
Boom.
Oh, that is a different story, isn't it?
10 mil of change and lots of other mils of change.
Yep. Slightly different setup, but the face measurement is pretty much exactly the same.
I think a lot of people look at gun fit like length and face measurement and then they forget that actually a lot of other ancillary measurements are what allow you to,
Change the fit.
yeah, move.
Nice. Really nice. Any excessive recoil on the cheek or shoulder?
Zero.
Zero.
Zero. Oh, it's smooth.
Nice.
I mean, definitely when your head's more upright, your head gets bounced off more than when it's locked in.
Yeah.
But
But
I like that.
it's
I-
nice. It doesn't look like it's uncomfortable or interfering with what you're doing at the moment.
When I shoot 410s, for example, I struggle because there's no bounce off to reset you.
Let's see what it's like on the hard stuff. Nice, right in the head.
That was bad. That's a different target now. The wind's changing it, I think.
I think that's slightly further away than it was before, isn't it?
Righteously so.
Yeah.
It's a bigger gap, and I took the bottom edge off. I was giving it some height.
That's interesting.
That's,
Just
I don't feel any shame in missing that now.
No, it's probably a 70-yard edge on crosser, you know. We're just having fun.
But if we can hit it.
Yeah, go for it. Fucking hell.
Oh,
Beautiful. Go on, stretch it. Oh, no,
much,
too much
yeah.
gun speed. I love that enthusiasm, but no. Leave it there.
Thank you, mate.
You're very welcome.
That was, I mean, that was probably the wrong way to finish, coming back to the hardest target that's now.
Another 20 yards out further than it was before. Yeah,
But it broke,
It broke nicely.
and it broke almost as often as it didn't. And honestly, you'd walk into that on a day like today when it's different every time and hard every time.
Oh, absolutely. If you hit it once, you'd be happy, wouldn't you?
You'd walk out with 50% and go, yeah, it's not going to affect the scorecard that much.
No, that's right. It's one of those targets. But it's great fun to have a go at. Probably not really relevant to what we're doing today, is it?
Yeah, it is. If you can't hit that, I'm not interested.
With both of us pretty tired from talking and pretty happy with those measurements, we headed back into the Barbary Clubhouse to measure up the Trigun and find out what the magic numbers were. We then proceeded to measure the GTI, the Longthorn, and the Maruk to use as a comparison. The numbers on these pieces of paper fascinate me, but I won't bore you with them now.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely fascinating.
Brilliant.
I do feel like these kind of exercises help learn, certainly for me. Every day is a school day, certainly with gun fit, right?
Especially with gun fit, and I'm learning every day.
It's been fascinating, really has. The changes aren't that great, but
No.
there's...
It's all movements around the eye, and you've got to remember that around your eye it's a very small area, so 3 or 4 mil here or there is going to make a massive difference to how you're shooting. It's surprising just going from something that's Monte Carlo, quite low in the cone, which we didn't expect to work today, going back to something that looks quite high in the cone, and how much you had to force your cheek in to get your eye down onto it. I think, like you said, people change, how they shoot change,
Yeah.
and you need to progress with that. I think you've become a little bit more leisurely with how you shoot.
Mate, thank you again.
Hey, once again, John.
That was epic.
That was really good fun.
And now I need to custom another custom sock. Or just a no gun.
Thank you for watching, guys. This channel is made possible by our amazing sponsors. You can find out more about them in the description down below. And if you want to support the channel, you can join as a member. You get loads of extra content, well, some extra content, and occasionally we hook up and go clay shooting together as a membership group. If you don't feel like joining today, we really appreciate you watching and subscribing. Have a wonderful day.